Ah, the pitter patter of little feet. So, you can hear the dog's nails. I need to get them trimmed as they run around the floor. So, hey folks, those of you who are joining me for what would be, I think, my third stream. I didn't record a couple. Sorry. I did make some progress, though. So for those who are curious, we've got, and I will show off the cool stuff I've been kind of adding to it bit at a time. This project is so easy. It's a really easy time for me to sit down for like 15-20 minutes and code something and then just be done with it. And it's not even worth like starting up the stream for hardly because, I'm busy playing Hearthstone at the same time, or I'm incredibly distracted by whatever Netflix thing I have open at the time. Right now it's been a lot of Next Generation. So it's kind of funny. I've got... it's been happening in such little segments, and by it I mean my programming, that it's been actually somewhat difficult to stream. I expected it to be easy because it's things I know how to do. I can look all smart and be, really cool and do all this programming and it'll make sense. Except that it's almost too easy. It's to the point where I'm burning through features in, 10-15 minutes. So just to show off what we've got going on, and I don't know why I have headphones in. I can't hear anything. I don't have music going. I'm honestly just sitting here talking to myself. I have got, looking at my preview when I see garbled text, I'm hoping you guys in the beautiful 720p environment you're in can see more of this than I can. So I've got dir command, and actually if I just type help you can see all the commands. Like before we only had a couple. Once I got a lot of the path stuff into place from last stream, it became very easy to just dump more things in very quickly. So now we can make directories and give them names, like another directory. And if I do a dir, hey look, there's my another directory, and I can change into it. Like none of this is faked anymore. It's all an actual file system. You'll note that if it can't find anything in a directory, it says file not found. That's actually something I probably have to remedy. Probably. Let's see here. Let's just make ourselves an empty directory. So the tabbing is something I do have to add to my own stuff. But, So, okay, that's not too bad, actually. That's not bad at all, in fact. I do need to clear that up so it doesn't say file not found. So let's do that before I dive into anything else. So that'll be in the screen. So real quick, actually, no, that won't be in the screen. That'll be in commands. That will be part of the dir command. Where I will say, okay, here's our something found, the content name filter. Now, this gets set at some point. Okay, so if it's still anything is essentially what I should do. And note, kind of a magical string here, dot star, right? We don't really want the magical string flying around. So what I'm going to do for this case, and I might not do this everywhere because this is such a small project. You know what? No, let's keep to the normal stuff. Just conform all the time. Our code will make sense. It'll be easy to fix later if people find bugs. So we want some constant. It's just going to be called the everything pattern. Or, you know what? I'll just call it like all files. The all file pattern. And it's pretty simple, right? It's just dot star. And by dot star, that is a regular expression who can find a single 1 or 0 characters, and it can find it any number of times. And because star is greedy, which this is something I went over last time and unfortunately didn't really record it, because star is greedy, it's going to take up as much of the string as it can. So it's going to actually take the whole freaking string. That greedily devours, consumes the entire string. So here's our all file pattern. There we go. Gotta say words. Gotta do it right. And we got to also put an if statement in here and say, well, it's not just if something wasn't found. If something wasn't found and our content name filter is changed. Woohoo, don't mind me. Just opening up the Windows Start menu for some random reason. On the upside, just mashing escape makes it go away. Either way, so the content name filter is filled in. That's great. Is there anything else? Not really. Not that I can think of, at least. That should fix that bug for us, at bare minimum. So let's just try that out real quick. And I love how you guys can see this too. MonoDevelop has left. It looks like a hint of something on the screen. There we go. Get it to go away. I really can't wait till Unity updates that. So we check our directories, and you'll note that the directory resets every time, because right now we don't save any of this out. I do need to do like an on-exit or an on-destroy. We'll just serialize the whole file structure back out to something meaningful. But for now, we're good as is. We're going to make a new directory. I'm just going to call it A because I'm lazy this time. And you'll note, hey, look, there's nothing in here. I don't like it so barren and empty. It feels like something's wrong, like there's a bug in here. I almost prefer the file not found over this, but for now, let's see here. What can we do? Well, if we didn't find anything, if the content filter has changed, then we can say contains no files. File not found just kind of works. Even though file makes it sound like you're looking for something specific or particular. We'll go back to our command line for a moment and see that they use dot and dot dot to show that there really isn't anything in here. So, oh, here's what I should do. I should put this at the bottom. 0 files, 0 dirs, directories being dirs, of course. And let's just... There we go. Just remove that empty directory from my actual hard drive because, you know, unnecessary things. So we're actually not going to make a special case for this, but what we're going to do is we're going to count up the number of files and directories that we work for. So instead of something found, we're going to say dirs found. Wow, I am really bad at this tonight. And files found. And now we just have to increment dirs found when we have a directory found. And files found when we find a file. Obvious things. Screen, add to screen buffer. Dirs found plus a space. Dirs found. 0 dirs found, 1 dir found. For now, I think I'm going to leave it so that it matches the command line better. I'm contemplating the idea of actually having a, have it say 0 directory, 0 or more than 1 should say directories, right? You say 0 directories found versus 1 directory found. But for now, I'm trying to make this match the actual command line. So we'll just keep with our, we'll keep with what the actual system uses and go from there. Something found, this needs to get updated as well. We need to say file or directory not found. And then we just say the dirs found is 0 and the files found are 0, and the content name filter has changed. It feels like a bit of a hectic if statement, but it's not actually all that bad. Having 3 things inside an if statement, not bad at all. I've got my usual, instead of coffee, I've switched over. At night I have a It's a calcium magnesium mix. Helps you sleep. Or it's supposed to, at least. We'll see if it actually does the trick. I've been drinking it a little while now. Kinda helps, kinda sorta. We'll see. Maybe I'm just poisoning myself. Maybe. I don't know. So, do our usual check. Hey, look, at the bottom it says how many directories and files are found. That's awesome. I probably want another new line in there somewhere, just because it feels a little weird to have these two mashed together. Also, you might note that the text has gotten smaller from last time, mostly because at this point, there we go, add our new line there. At this point, I found that I had already run out of space. There was so much information on the screen that it was actually pushing things off the screen in the same function call, and so I had to then go back, make the font smaller, make it a little more readable, and then compact things down. I might honestly have to do that again, because if we look at the command line prompt size, right, look at this text size, it's kind of close. We're getting there, but I don't want the two to match one for one, because this is kind of hard to read. Like, this is tiny little text. It might be a little bit too much, honestly. Cool. No directories, no files. All set. Nice and empty. I kind of like the big blank space there. Lets you know that it looked for something and found Jack Diddley, which is awesome. One thing I didn't think of till now. What? Okay, that was weird. You'll note this command up here, change directory into A, right? Didn't work. Okay, that's fine. Directory doesn't exist. That's one thing. Also, wait, why is it saying the directory doesn't exist? Oh, I'm in the directory. That is so bizarre. It just was like, nope, it doesn't work. What? I mean, I don't know. I'll figure it out on a later date. I hate to say it, but I think I found a bug that doesn't show up all the time. Needless to say, we can make and remove directories. The other cool thing I've added, and the whole point of tonight's thing, was not actually supposed to be fixing and cleaning stuff up, and I noticed that my task text, ooh, that's a little too large. Let's just make that, you know what, it's fine, whatever. I'm gonna stop playing with the text on my stream. The point of tonight was to show, hey look, Note, which is a program that runs within the command line interface. So I can open up a test file, and you'll note I have a cursor, I can move it around. It takes a little, I can't just hold it down right now. I need to check in on that, figure out why. But I can delete, if I'm in insert mode. I can add, if I hit escape, it brings me back from insert mode to command mode. I'm going for a somewhat VI or Vim-like interface here, simply because it's just such an ancient piece of tech, and it's so well known, especially to any Linux users. You don't work on Linux without knowing VI or Vim. And since so much these days is being done on servers, it helps to know VI or Vim. I'm just going to say VI for now, because Vim, or I could just say Vim. I honestly don't know which one has a bigger following these days. So let's see. Also, the other thing right now is if I hit Q, it quits. The problem is I have no way to save things, right? I exit and the string just goes right back to how it was before. So that's really the point of this work today that I wanted to get done. And we'll see how quick this one is. I expected this to be a bigger task, so we'll see if that's actually the case. Also, without the light background, you can see I've updated myself to Pro, because, hey, Pro's nice to have. It's got some cool stuff. Also, the dark background is a little easier on the eyes. The problem is that you can't really tell when you're in play mode anymore. You see the whole thing darken slightly. But I think we need to change the color to pink, maybe. Maybe. Let's see here. Colors. Play mode tint. Let's try just like a slight red. Okay, that's a little overkill. And by a little, I mean really overkill. Also, making the UI see-through is not... Okay, we're gonna go for pink. Let's see. Better. We can make this a little more subtle, just so it's not so glaringly painful. There we go. Slight red tint, let us know. I'm gonna make it a little stronger. But that should be really all that I need. Just to be obvious, the point is that changes that happen in Unity, there we go, I like that tint. Changes that happen in Unity in play mode don't stick. They don't get serialized back out. And so what we've got to do is we've got to remember any changes we make while we're in play mode, we have to remake those changes for the most part when we exit play mode and go back into editing and doing other things from here. So now that we've gotten that taken care of, and I'm going to take another sip so I have time to think. Back to saving. Specifically, we need to do two things. One, if we open a file, we need it to save back to that file. If we select a new file, we need to be able to save to a file of a new name or create a file. Because that's how a lot of these work, is they don't actually make the file until you say save. It usually has a memory buffer where it hangs on to all your input, and then when you're done and say save, that's when it serializes it out to a file. It's just how modern systems work. It's actually how even ancient systems probably worked. They just had a lot less space for things. So we've got this notion of virtual files and their contents already. So it shouldn't be too hard for us to go through and do that. That should be the easy one. The hard case is going to honestly be that we need to figure out a way to override that bottom line and ask for input on that bottom line. That's going to be the difficult thing to do. So let's see. I can close the commands. I can close the screen. This is pretty much all text editor work. Also, eventually we'll want a save as function so that we can create new files based on what's currently in the buffer. That's for something in the future. So first, we have our virtual file. I'll just call it a file handle because that's what they really are in operating systems. When you open a file, you have a handle to that file, and handles usually include things like position in file, file length, file contents, that kind of thing. For us, a reference to a virtual file object is going to be one-to-one. The only upside is that I can have virtual file references everywhere, and that's not going to hurt me when it comes to having file references left open. That's kind of an operating system level thing that I'm not too worried about here. And I don't think I'm going to go so far as to actually teach something like that. I might hide something of that sort in here, but I don't think I'm actually going to teach that kind of thing. So we've got our file handle, and when you say open file, right, this is the easiest thing to do. We say, okay, cool, we have a file handle. Ta-da! And just to be sure that this always gets set whenever you have a new file, I'd also like to null that out just so I know nothing is left over or floating around in crazy places. So we've got our file handle, and let's just add here. We've got insert, save, and quit. And then inside of our input, we have to do a little special checking. So we've already got if you press Q. That's a nice easy one. Else if get key down. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm happy to answer questions about C-like languages, about what I'm doing, why I'm doing it. you know, what my methodologies are, what it's like to be a game developer, all kinds of stuff. I know things, they're in my head, but they're kind of locked away, and sometimes you gotta ask me questions in order to get that information to come out of my mouth. So the easiest thing to do, we say if you press the S key, if the file handle, if it's null, we're gonna have some trouble. So I'm actually just gonna start with the easy one, if it's not null. And in this case, we say file handle dot file contents is going to be the same as the buffer contents. Ta-da, done. It's that easy. Especially, part of this is good architecting, and part of this is just that saving to file is a simple thing. If we were on an actual operating system, it's still easy, right? You just open file, write contents to file, close file, we're done. If you have name, you know it exists. Like, even if you don't know it exists, sometimes you can just like pop files out of thin air inside of an operating system, and it knows how to handle it. So this is a fairly simple, straightforward thing. The other part of this, actually, now that I think about it, so we also want some kind of notification to go back to the player. So specifically, I'll call it the notification string. And what I'm going to do is this notification string is going to go underneath our command string. So you are going to become, let's see here. So I've got a refresh screen. And what it essentially does is it prints out the contents of the file plus any number of new lines necessary to bring us to that bottom line. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring us one up from that bottom line. And this line of code, you note, is getting a little long, so I'm just going to bring it onto its own line. So we've got this, and then we need a new line, and then our notification string. For now, that should be fine. Right now, notification string is empty. That's cool. Let's see here. And it's just going to be something we overwrite over all the time. So it's not even something I care a ton about. The contents of that string are very, for lack of better words, very volatile. They will change probably pretty often, especially once we start doing things to it. Like, for example, inside here we say, oh, the notification string? Sure, it's going to be set to file saved buffer contents.length bytes saved. And you know what? I'm not going to just say file. I'm actually going to get really fancy here. I have the file handle, so I could just say file name. File name saved. This many bytes saved. Or we'll use written to file as a more succinct way of doing it. You may also note that I'm leaving out semicolons at a lot of the end of my lines as string to a list of bytes. Okay. You may notice I'm leaving off semicolons. I've been doing a lot of work in Python lately, and that unfortunately tends to leave me with this habit of not putting semicolons at the end of my line, because Python as a scripting language is not exactly something you just like leave semicolons on the end of your line for. It's white space delineated, and so a new line is enough to tell that what you mean. There we go. So it's complaining about the fact that I can't convert a string to a list of bytes. Fine, don't care. I have there's an object in C# called a bit converter. You can use it to convert basic variables into arrays of bytes. The issue being now I have an array of bytes and it wants a list of bytes. Luckily, Link, I figured Link would have my back, and not Hero of Time Link, but yeah. Funny, but look at this. It does not have a string get bytes. I wonder if I have to go all the way up to system text for that. Yeah, I do. It looks like I do. There's my get bytes with a string. And I think I've already got system text. Yeah, system text is already handled. So this is unnecessary. Just so I don't fly around this time. You'll note I have using system.text at the top. That tells the compiler that I will be using things from that namespace without specifically naming them. So I can do this, and it still understands what I'm going for. Here's our buffer contents. And I can just nuke all that and put this in its place. And it's still complaining. Oh, because we're going from a list, or sorry, from an array to a list. So I should be able to just toList, except it doesn't look like it's accepting that, and I already see the problem. Using system link. Link is a neat namespace, and it's got a bunch of things in it that allow you to bounce between lists and arrays, and it's really good for enumerating through sets. So if I have a list of things and I want to do some work on them, it's very easy to use link and say, oh, for each object in here, you know, if it's a list of integers, we just say, add 1 to all of them. Just increment them all. I don't really care. Junkie Twitch, I don't understand what you're saying. You have other tools, not just UIL. You'll have to be a little more specific for me. All right, so our notification string is set. I'm trying to think of other things that we can do, but for now, let's just try this out. Specifically, if I hit run and it doesn't have compiler errors, what I name the file? Test file. So, all right, some crazy string goes here. So we go back to our command mode, right? I can still move the cursor around, but I can't type anything that would actually add to the string. When I hit S, okay, we're close. It looks like it didn't quite do it right. It's, like I said, it's close. It's just not perfect, not there. Let's see what we did wrong with our string. Oh, I didn't even check if it worked. Oops. All right, so I say contents plus equal. Here's our problem. Okay, this is what I'm hunting for. So we have this, and then finally we say screen contents. We add on a new line and the notification string. And of course we need a semicolon because I can't forget that, because C# does not like it when I forget that. So let's try this again. Test file.txt, some info, all right, cool. And then I hit S. It says it's saved. There are 27 bytes written. Just to very quickly sanity check. 4, 5 and 5 is 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. 27 bytes written to file. Sweet. Technically, it should be 28. The file should end with a null terminator. I'm not being picky about that right now, so I don't really care. And also, 1 character is 1 byte. By the way, just in case you didn't know. We're not using UTF-8, UTF-16, any of that crazy stuff. So for now, that's safe. If we do switch to a UTF system in the future, or a UTF encoding, I should say, then I'll have to change how the number of bytes are calculated, but it shouldn't be too bad. Macho cool boy. This is C#. C# is a language made by Microsoft somewhat recently. It's a newer language. And it's been making a really good name for itself, especially since Unity picked it up. It's you can see I have my Unity script over here on the side, which is also written in C#. So I've saved the file out. And if I reopen it, you can see some Hodor string still lives there. So it's saving temporarily to our file. Obviously, when I hit quit and I shut down the game, that's going to disappear. So we might need to figure this out. Specifically, so question 1, do I want this to be persistent right now? For now, I don't actually know if I care for it to be persistent or not. Specifically, I'd probably write it out to a file in the user directory, and then I'd say, well, if this exists, we need to make sure that it gets loaded in, otherwise we don't really care about it, and we'll just load the defaults. Because that's how, it's how good games work. You have your defaults, you have your overrides inside the save file. Yeah, I know. Junkie Twitch makes a good point. It's funny, I'm emulating an old school DOS command line with a new modern programming language. Just kind of goes to show how, even though times change, some things just stay the same. And I like it that way. So, okay, we've already got saving an existing file. Saving a new file is going to be the hard part here. Macho Cool Boy, he asks where I learned to code. I learned at UC Santa Cruz, that's University of California, Santa Cruz, as a computer science and game design major. Before that, I learned a little bit of C on my own, but I can't say it was significant enough to be able to do something like make a game, like what I'm working on right now. Okay, so we're going to add in a new... am I going to add in a new mode? Yeah, I am. So we have save mode now. And what save mode is going to do for me is it's going to be a new setup where I can essentially throw out any other input aside from alphanumeric stuff. And the alphanumeric stuff is going to turn into the file name, whatever that is. So for us, let's see here. So I've got my incoming text, yada yada. I need to figure out where to put this first. And I think, first off, this else needs to become an else if. If the current mode is insert. And I'll just keep this consistent. I'm kind of tempted to move this into a switch statement, but I kind of like it in if statements as well, because if statements are a little more controlled in terms of what's in scope. Alright, and just for sanity's sake, we're going to put something like a character limit on how long a file name can be, just because we don't want, 128 character file names to exist. In a real world, that's determined by the operating system. In the game world, we can just kind of define that ourselves. So we'll do that as part of our setup. And because I need it in more than one place, I'm moving this variable out of part of this if statement. So we've got, let's see, notification string. So first off, we know when you hit S, we need to do a few things. If you don't have a file, what we need to do is the notification string. There we go. The notification string, actually, yeah, we just blank it, right? We don't really care what's in it. We just want it empty so that we know that the file name goes in there. And while you're in save mode, which save mode is really just typing in a file name, notification string plus equals, so the only other thing, let's see here, ASCII encoding, ASCII dot, is, there's got to be some way to check. Is a single byte, is browser save? What? There's some way to check whether, okay, it definitely is in this ASCII encoding thing. We need to figure out whether or not the string is alphanumeric, so if it's numbers or letters. Now there's a mathematical way to do that because characters are always represented by numbers inside of a computer. but there might be a way to do it in here, although I'm not finding it. System text coding ASCII. Is there really no... I could have sworn there was something. And I'm losing my mind because I cannot find it. Documentation is alphanumeric in C#. Google is our friend. It really, really is. Okay, so we've got regular expressions, right? We've done this before. Is this an alphanumeric character? Is it A through Z, lower or uppercase, or 0 through 9? That's not too bad. Especially, we also... You know what? Let's go with that. Because, and the rule here is that I want to be able to add more symbols to file names. So essentially, we'll want to say, oh, it's not just alphanumeric. You can also put periods and underscores and stuff like that in your file name. So it'll be our limiter more than anything else. So let's just get rid of that. And I'm actually going to save this as a variable, because every time you type something, I don't want to have to revalidate it. And more specifically, we don't want to be allocating and throwing away anything inside of our update loop. That's a big no-no. So this will be our file name filter, regex. Pattern. Better word. I like pattern, because that's really what a lot of this is, right? It's all figuring out whether or not it follows a certain pattern and does what we want. So here's our file name pattern. And we say, where'd it go? Here we go. If the incoming text matches our file name pattern, then we just add it to the end. And the other thing we have to keep in mind, actually, is if the incoming text is a backspace, because I didn't think of that, initially at least. The notification string, let's see here, how do we do this? I think we just remove from the end, wherever we happen to be. Yeah, Junkie, I use a lot of Stack Overflow. It's just kind of how I do it. Any programmer worth their salt will happily admit that they aren't at least all-knowing in terms of having memorized everything. There's just too much in programming for any one person to know. So Google and Stack Overflow and the Unity forums are all your friend. They're tools to be used. That's why I think that anyone who goes through and says, oh, well, you know, closed book tests for programming, no, that's stupid. You never have a closed book test. It's always the information that's in front of you is what's at hand. For interviews, it's a little different, but aside from that, there really is little reason to have a kind of closed book set up. And it's having trouble finding the regular expression namespace because I didn't specify it correctly. Also, when I said backspace, I said character, not string. And you can't compare a string to a character. It kind of logically makes sense to us, but for a computer where type coercion is a thing, it's not really the first thing that you should be doing. And a fool's duty, yes, this is different from the last thing I was working on. The last thing I was working on was I want to say like 6 months ago was when I last worked on that. And it was too big of a project for me. In all honesty, it was just huge. And I could not handle it myself. Cool. So, let's see. Is everything in place? I think that's everything. think being the key part of that. Let's try it. First, if I say note without anything in here, obviously there's nothing in here. So I say some text, some testing stuff should go here. I really can't type. I mean, like, this is proof. I can't really type well at the moment. So, okay, we've got that. I hit save. Now this is weird. It's not doing anything. So let's see what the heck is happening. Because nothing in my console, right? So nothing's going terribly wrong, at least. Oh, and here's our problem. It's resetting the string, but it's not actually changing the mode. So the current mode needs to be set to save. And just like that, I'm forced to redo all of that precious, beautiful work. Note. Text. Whoops. Text. Goes. Cool. And like any good text editor, it does not mind when I do stuff like this. So number one, when I hit save mode, I probably shouldn't be showing this cursor or the fact that it can move around. Just saying. Also, you'll note you can't see. I'm typing things. But nothing's ending up there. Also, I apologize, dog. Oof, sorry about that. Dog alarm went off because I have cats who like to run across the back of my fence. And it's curious, but it's what they like to do. So okay, why is this not showing up? I'm doing the new line in the notification string, so it's not like this should be off my screen. Let's just do a little actual debugging for a moment. What's a good tool to use for text adventure games? There is a great online tool called Twine that allows you to make text adventures that are really friggin' awesome. You can code JavaScript into it, and it lets you make like old school Zork style text adventures. So Sharky, that's a great tool to use. I'm kind of doing things the hard way by making my own command line first and then doing things in it. Yeah, sometimes just a console window is actually a little too much, I would say, for something like Unity. Unity is based off of the idea of having images and text and 3D models and sprites and that kind of stuff on screen. It's almost a little overkill, but at the same time, it's got the tools I need. And so for me, this just happened to be the right tool for the right job. So let's see here. I need to do this correctly. So I'm typing right now, nothing's popping up. Makes me really curious what's going on. So I'm going to put a breakpoint specifically on those two lines, so where I add and remove text. And so something isn't even getting here in the first place. Like, I'm typing and it's not even hitting my breakpoints as far as I can tell. So question number one, are we even entering this part of the loop? No. Really? Color me surprised. What's the current mode? Save. This is fine. Excuse me again. stream. This is Apollo. He is a corgi who is very uninterested in being on the stream. He's more interested about who's at the front door than he is that. Yeah, he's being a goofball. I'm gonna put him down. Attack! Attack the interloper. Okay, so some of this code is getting run. I just need to figure out why. Okay, so it's looking at... It's looking at the text correctly. It's just not doing the whole check on whether or not the notification string should be getting added to, because it looks empty. I'm going to leave a breakpoint there and try typing things. I mean, I'm pretty clearly typing things. I feel like it's clear I'm typing things. Let's try... I'm actually going to detach from... we're just going to kill this for a moment. So one thing that I know Mono has problems with is some of the scope tends to get a little garbled if you do not have correct brackets around things. So let's put brackets around it, see how it goes. Cool boy, I do know Lua to some degree, but I haven't worked with Lua in a long time. So I can't really help you, unfortunately. If you have any questions specifically about it, I know basics. I know it's a scripting language. It has its own garbage collector, that kind of stuff. I know WoW uses it for its user interface code. But unfortunately, beyond that, I'm not terribly helpful. Helpfully. So sorry about that. So once again, more typing. I'm not doing anything though. You might even hear like the keyboard tappity tappity tappity. Let's try and break it. Let's see if we can at least break it, because if we can break it, something makes sense, right? So if I hit backspace, it did catch on a breakpoint, and it is going to throw an error now, because, hey, you can't remove negative numbers of characters from a string. That's something we can fix next. Okay, so that works. But this other thing isn't. I'm really confused. Let's see here. It wants... Is that right? Is that really correct? It's anything in here should do, right? So, first off, I don't know why this is inside here. And let's just remove all that malarkey, just for the sake of it. Oh, and while we're in there, actually, let's fix that bug we had. I'm going to detach this and just say, hey, if you backspace and the notification string length is less than, greater than 0. So if there's actually something in the string for us to remove. And I can remove that, because that's probably fixed. So something here should at least be a bit better. Subticks, I don't know exactly what that code you posted in chat is. Good luck with it, whatever it is. Whoops. Well, okay, we know something here works. Specifically, and I just realized something terrible. If this and this, then we remove from the end 1. Length, yeah, okay, this should be fine. The other thing is if we just have to check whether or not escape is pressed, so we can go back to the command mode after all is said and done, because as it turns out, I probably shouldn't return early there. What do I call it? Current mode? Yeah. just so I can exit out early and like not save the file if I decide against it. There we go. Just sampled some Lua code to iterate through a to the n array table. Ah, okay. Although that, okay, table. So you mean hash table is what it looks like. Cody Husky asks, why am I making a text editor in a game engine? So the point of the game, and the point of this whole thing, is that this game, and I put quotations around it somewhat liberally, currently the idea is that I'm going to make, I'm going to make a tutorial / game about using the command line. So there's going to be some stuff in here about learning how to edit text files, write scripts, which means I will have to write my own interpreted language. So it's going to be a little overkill here. But the idea is that you can learn how to use a command line. And I'll hide some neat things in here, and I'll put some conflict and obstacles in. So it actually is a game and not just a toy. But for now, just getting the various bits and pieces together is really... There we go. Is really the main point of what I'm trying to do. Since I can gamify, I don't like that word, but I can gamify it later. So, okay, I hit save, I can type save, I can type things. It's actually not letting me backspace. And I actually haven't implemented return either. So, oops, all that typing for nothing. No biggie. Let's see here. Let's also take the notification string and empty it out, because we can. If the incoming text is a backspace and the string is a length greater than 0, which it should be, we remove from the end. It makes sense. I don't get it. Why is this not working the way I want it to?
Something to learn.
Watashi wa jitensha desu ka? Remember, guys, if I say something incredibly offensive on stream, it's up to you to let me know, because I don't understand Japanese. And when I'm handed little cue cards... Let's see, can I get that? Yeah, there we go. Cue card. When I'm handed cue cards with Japanese things to say and a girl snickering next to me as I say things like Watashi wa jitensha desu ka, all I know is the word bicycle is in there somewhere. And she won't stop laughing. What did I just say?
Am I a bicycle?
I asked whether I was a bicycle. See? Not too offensive. At least I know what I said.
It's the word you know. It's cute. I love it.
Congratulations, you got me to ask my stream whether I was a bicycle or not.
Yes, I did. I'm proud of it.
I'm glad you're proud of that. I'm proud of that too.
Su desu.
Su desu?
It means yes, I am.
Okay. Wait, Tashi wa jitensa desu ka? Su desu.
Hai, su desu.
Hi, su desu. She's learning Japanese. I'm learning it by proxy, so I just kind of pick up random words and say things.
Like jitensha.
Like jitensha. Yeah, watashi isn't a bad word. I'm saying things that aren't bad words, luckily. Anyway, back to what I was going for here. I know why it's not fixing itself. Haha. There we go.
Do you like the folder? I'm sorry, I'm interrupting. Do you like the folder I chose from?
Alright, so crack open our file, type, whoops, we go into insert mode, we type stuff so that it has contents. I hit save. I name it somefile.txt. Whoop. Oh, right. Dot doesn't work. We need to fix that. I name it somefile, and I haven't taken care of return yet. So that's another character we need to specifically take care of. So we say, if you backspace, do this. I'm copying and pasting, which is a terrible habit. Never actually do this. But, there we go. Okay. If notification string, okay, cool. So when you hit enter, we need to make sure that that file doesn't already exist. You know what? We're not even going to worry about whether it exists. If it does, great. If it doesn't, we're overwriting it. And you can have multiple. No, you can't have multiple files by the same name. Otherwise, you wouldn't know how to open one from another. So first things first. Screen, we grab our current directory from the screen, and we say, hey, do you happen to contain a file by the name of whatever is in this notification string? And we should just do some trimming for our sanity's sake. So that is the notification string with trim called on it. We check the trimmed file name to see if it exists. If it does, we're just going to cheat. Actually, screen, current directory. Can I just say get file? Yeah, I can. Of course I can. I just say get file using the trimmed file name. And then we'll just say if that's null. That's much better. If the file's null, then we create it. It's a new virtual file. File name is going to be the trimmed file name. And I just need a quick check here. If the trimmed file name, if its length is 0, there's a problem. So we're just going to, got to do our error checking, make sure everything here is sane. Say the notification string is going to be file name cannot be purely. I just realized we can't put white space in here anyway. I don't know why I'm doing any of this. I'm sorry, guys. I'm just losing my mind tonight. Little bit at a time, losing my mind.
Yeah, you just asked if you were a bicycle. Dude.
So, there's my file contents, and we just need to store the file contents. So actually, the easiest thing to do in this case is to say, where is it? Oh, it's our file handle. Our file handle is a new file. I'm going to write a save file function. And then the other thing we have to do is we have to put the file into the current directory. Contained files, add the file handle. Ta-da! And we're done. I just have to write the save file function, which should be hopefully pretty easy. Notification string is this. No matter what, we actually have to do that anyway. So, there we go. I can simplify this a little bit. Less things flying around is better, usually. Because it lets us do things like remove that entire else statement there. Now, when I say save file, and I'm going to make this a helper function, even though at the moment it's not quite necessary. If file handle is not null, and then we're just going to do this. Where is that save file code I had before? If you are in command mode and you press S, do this. I'm actually going to take the entire contents of this and say this is now save file. Let's see, will that work? So if the file is null, it'll jump into save mode. Yeah, you know what? I like that. So that is save file. And then down here, when I do that again, saving the file should, let's see here. Yeah. So I don't even need to nullify the thing after it because it's always getting thrown out anyway. Subtext asking, can't I code C#6 in Unity? You can. You just have to make manual edits to the project file because Unity by default creates project files that are C# 5.0, which means you don't get the inline stuff like that. Yes, I normally can though. Alright, so this should work. Should being the key part of this. So we open our notepad, we type text and stuff. We hit save. We give it file name. Saved. 19 bytes written to file. Cool. Oh, it's still in save mode. We need to stop it from doing that. So when you save file, it needs to set the current mode to command. Simple enough. Because you can't hit save anyway. I'm sorry, not 5.0 in C#. A fool's duty is correct. It targets 4 normally. But you can, I think, go up to, I think the Unity compiler goes as high as 5 or 6. Not 100% on that. If you really want to know, go look it up online. Also, you know what, I'll do that next. There we go. I hit save. I give it numbers. It saved it. I do note that the file name is not here. It says blank saved. Uh-oh, we've got a problem now. You'll note that there's an argument null exception flying around now. Let's see here. Am I not saving the file correctly? Is that... oh, I'm saving the file, but no, I should be putting it in the right place. Get file, otherwise I generate a new file. Yeah, it only has name and contents, so it's not even like it can go terribly far. I go into the current directory and I just add the new file. I'm kind of curious what's going on here. Specifically... Oh, ha! Let's see if it'll take, out of pure curiosity more than anything else. You know what, let's not, actually. I don't use that often. It'll look a little weird to me if I suddenly start doing it. Notification string. And while I'm thinking about it, we're going to add the dot into here because the regex needs that so that I can tell whether or not Yeah, so that I can add dots to my file name again. So, special super text. Alright, so we've got our text. I hit save. I call it the secret.txt file. And then I quit. If I do a directory check, hey, there's secret.txt. If I open it again, this is where we cross our fingers. There it is. Cool. So we got it. Everything's in here. It saves files. It can create new files. This is good. This is kind of working with... it's working well for, you know, all the stuff we have going. Cool. It's awesome to see this stuff working. And like I said, you know, I've been on stream now for, granted, it's been about an hour and 10 minutes. I've been talking a fair amount, though. In terms of how much coding I've done, there's been a lot of fixing, too. So it makes sense it would take me an hour. Still, in an hour, we managed to knock out a pretty major feature, the ability to create new files inside of our file system. We've now kind of completed the full picture in terms of file and folder manipulation. Any kind of virtual drive manipulation is now possible, right? We've got make and remove directory. We've got make file. I'm pretty sure remove... oh, you know what? Maybe I don't have remove file, which would be delete in this case. I don't think I actually have delete yet. I think I just have remove directory. Let's double check that real quick before I say something stupid that gets me in trouble. So here's remove directory, and there's nothing beneath it or above it in the R section. So no, this thing only does directories. I'll figure that out next time. Honestly, guys, I'm tired. Gonna go pass out. Thank you for joining me. If you have any questions before I sign off, please toss them into chat. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you enjoyed it. If there's anything you want to know about the project or why, you know, feel free, ask away. Aside from that, thank you for joining me. It was a little short, but hopefully sweet. I should be on sometime this weekend. I will continue working on this. We'll probably finish up the last piece of the puzzle for file manipulations, because I need to be able to delete files. And if we really want to be sneaky, we can have file flags and do things kind of the same way an actual operating system would. Actual operating systems don't tend to delete things. They tend to put a flag in place that says, this was deleted, but it leaves the file and its contents in place, which is why you actually have people who are able to go through empty hard drives and recover all the files and information off of it. It's just because operating systems are lazy for the most part. And it's not a bad thing in most cases. It's just when somebody, you know, nabs your hard drive, or when you think it's empty. You have to go and find a utility that actually writes 0 bytes to each location, or I should say 0 bits. But yeah, after this, I mean, the only thing after this, once we get deleting files, is that we have to figure out how to do scripts, and that's going to be fun. That's when the craziness kicks in, right? To be able to write your own programs that run within this little virtual environment is the best part. This is kind of the part I'm waiting for, and it should be a little more complex and a little crazier under the hood as well. So thank you guys again for joining me. I'm not seeing any questions, so I'm going to hop out of here. Like I said, I will be back sometime this weekend, and I will add more to this game, and hopefully I will see some of you there. Thanks again, guys. Good night, good evening, good morning, wherever you are. Later.